In this video, I'm going to talk about two separate phenomena that do have something in common: cargo cults and ignorant debaters on YouTube. Now, if you don't know what a cargo cult is, YouTube has some videos on it, and Wikipedia is your friend. And basically, circa World War One and Two, there were some island nations in the Pacific where certain countries had planes delivering supplies to the soldiers that were on these islands very temporarily. Very quickly, they set up air control towers and runways, and the planes would come, give them supplies, and sometimes they would give these supplies to the natives, share with them, in order to, have their runway not get, attacked by the natives, whatever agreement they had. Sometimes it was just, humanitarian stuff. But, anyways, after these world wars were over, the planes weren't needed anymore, the soldiers weren't needed anymore, these air bases were abandoned. But the natives, who were never taught exactly, the mechanisms of flight, like the physics of flight, or they were never really educated by the soldiers. They just interacted with them. They saw these planes come, drop supplies off to the soldiers, and then leave. And then they thought, well, the gods must be favoring them. So when the soldiers had left and the planes had stopped, they thought, well, maybe we need to do what those soldiers were doing in order to get the gods to favor this island again and get the planes to drop more supplies and bring more supplies to us. So they would actually clear out fake runways, like ritualistically, and they would make huts that looked like air control towers, and they would put coconuts on their heads like helmets. And it was really they were trying to emulate what they saw, but they did not understand anything of the reasoning behind it. It was all ritual, and they wanted the gods to deliver them neat trinkets and supplies. You can read up on it or look at a YouTube video on that. But I want to draw a correlation here between the type of, if you don't educate people as to the things that you're using, when they try to use them because they see the good results that you get from it, they sometimes fail. And this happens with ignorant YouTube debaters, okay? And not to pick on somebody, but I'm going to read you this because this was sent to me by Roman Missile Exegy, and it was a message he got from Ravenwolf, also known to most of you as the Stigma Dane. He said to him, "You brought this on yourself. That's a typical bullying comment. I've listened, and all I've heard is a bunch of bigoted, narcissistic, straw-manning, bias confirmation bullshit. It is you people that refuse to listen and have refused to listen. You are prejudiced because of that. Your presuppositions don't allow you to take anything of an opposing argument into consideration. You're a butthurt troll, so begone back under your bridge." Okay, that was a comment that Ravenwolf had left to Roman Missile Exegy, Jacob Hubbard. So, what I have to say about this is there are a lot of ignorant debaters on YouTube who have heard words being used in other people's videos, and they think that they know what the word means, but they don't. First, we're going to start with bigotry. Okay? Bigot for one, is not the white version of nigger. Okay? It's not like black people are one thing and white people are another. It is not something that you only get when you don't like a certain religion, or you don't like homosexuals, or you don't like minorities. It would behoove everyone who has never looked at the definition of bigot or bigotry to look it up before you use the word, because what it really means is a preference for your own culture, and an intolerance of something in somebody else's culture. So it covers a wide spectrum of things, and a lot of people will start to use this word basically as much as Nazi is watered down. They'll water down the word bigot and just use it to describe somebody that they disagree with. There's one of the terms that he used in that, straw manning. Okay, I've seen straw manning be invoked when people will not declare their own position in order to have it critiqued. Now, see, if you're going to use the defense of you're straw manning me, then you better come clear as to what your own position is, or else what you're doing is what I like to call theological whack-a-mole in the great debate community. But it could be some other form of whack-a-mole. But for instance, I had an argument about 2 years ago here on YouTube with somebody who kept saying that I was strawmanning him because I was talking about sin in a way that he didn't believe sin or hell existed as. So I would make an argument against what I figured that his position was, and then what his next position was, and his next position was, and his next position was. And he would always say, well, that's not what I believe. That's not what I believe. And never tell me what he actually believed, because he knew that no matter which of those holes that he popped up in, there were only a limited number of holes, and each one of them had their own problems, and he knew that I knew how to pwn him anywhere he popped up. This is called theological whack-a-mole. Okay? It does not mean that I was straw manning him. I was continuously asking him to clarify his position, and he would not. To use the defense of that's straw manning me, you need to come clear as to what your position is and show how they misrepresented your position. Okay? It does not count if you just say, that's not my position. You're straw manning me. Clarify your position. And then you have some grounds to say that it's a straw man argument. Let's see. Context. Now, one of my favorite YouTube videos of all time is actually Non-Stamp Collector's video titled Context. I actually, there was a YouTube video watching night, and rather than throw in one of my own videos in the mix with this group that I was visiting, I went there and I threw this video in there because I run into it every time you hear somebody say, well, that's in the wrong context. The first thing that comes to my mind is, well, can you tell me where that would be in a correct context anywhere? Because there's a lot of times where they say, well, you're talking about that in the wrong context, and there is no good context for it at all. Like let's say Christians being a blood cult, where blood is considered to be something that would change God's favor if you spilt it. Yeah. Anyways, context is one of those things where even when you say no, I'm actually talking about this in the correct context, and you give the correct context, somebody can make that further argument, the you know infinite regression argument of, well, there's a context on top of that, on top of that, on top of that. So basically, context, you will see it misused all over YouTube. And the last one that I want to talk about, but before I sum up this whole picture for you guys, is ad hominem, or argumentum ad hominem. Most people don't even know the entire Latin phrase when they say ad hom. Okay? When you see somebody on YouTube saying ad hom, they probably have never really taken a debate class. I haven't, but I've had to study some of these things because I heard these words being used a lot and found that most people were using them quite wrong. Ad hom does not mean just that you are attacking someone personally instead of, you know, if somebody completely pwns your argument, completely destroys it, and then throws a personal insult in on top of that, that does not mean argumentum ad hominem. Okay? See what I'm saying here? Argumentum ad hominem means they have no argument against what your premise is. They have no way of arguing against that, so they attack you personally. All right? But most of the time when you hear somebody cry about ad homs, they are normally in the same package as an argument against what they were saying. You know? So you'll hear people cry, "Oh, you're just attacking me, ad hom, ad hom, ad hom." Well, that might have happened. You might have been attacked. But with that attack, was there an argument against your video? You know, what you said? Was there actually something that was correcting you in it? And if so, that's not argumentum ad hominem. You see, the argumentum ad hominem means they're attacking you instead of the subject at hand. So, take all of this together, and what I'm going to say about this is, when you see all of these words being misused so much, what I think is happening is, just like the cargo cults, there are certain YouTubers that have heard certain magical words, you know, like context, straw man, bigotry, ad hominem, all sorts of different words that other better debaters here on YouTube have used. And without knowing what those words actually mean, they think that if they accuse someone of using all of these different fallacies, and even the word fallacy can be one of these words, if they just say that somebody is being fallacious, you know, they think that they're winning the argument just by throwing those words out there. Because just like the cargo cults, no one has taken the time to educate them as to what these magical words mean. You know, they have no idea how they actually work in an argument. So just like the cargo cults, their arguments fail, and they're wearing coconut helmets, and they're in straw hut air control towers with their magical words that they're speaking to you. And some of them, like certain extreme Christians on YouTube, you might think, with all of the different times that they've gotten the use of these words wrong, that they might be counting on their gods, or if God, if they prefer, their God magically changing the words as they come out of their mouth to form a coherent, argument or defense. They might be counting on their God because they prayed to their God before they started speaking these words, before they hit the record button on their camera. They decided to pray about it and then hope that all of the words that they just spewed out of their mouth in a shotgun fashion would just magically arrange themselves into a coherent thought that could actually defeat somebody else's argument here on YouTube. Maybe we need to educate people, like just have a 101 class on debate, communication. Make sure that people understand what all of these words mean so that we don't see so many people going out there and using them in the wrong ways. Because, they're just going to be stranded out there waiting for that supply plane to come in. Unless we educate them as to why they're not winning any arguments.